Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning. I am super late. I don't know why I am super late. I have no excuse. That was okay. Let's check out the charts. Well, the treasury here was pretty good last week. I mean, they recovered pretty much this whole thing from the election. But this morning we're kind of pointed down again. I'm hoping that that's the extent of it today. Because I do kind of believe that the treasuries, it would be benefit us to go up because the economy is kind of hurting right now. But we'll see. We'll see how that one goes. S&P 500 just looks amazing. And I think that's kind of one of the things that's hurting right now is that the markets do look pretty good, even though there are some real problems, fissures in the economy. Oil going, wow. Oil taking a big old hit this morning. You have to look more into that. Gold and silver on the downturn as well. Interesting. I think we got copper. Copper's still struggling after some wild movement over here last week. And the Japanese yen just kind of coming along on the downturn, but nothing too crazy. The dollar breaking out to new highs. I don't know what I think about that one. And then Bitcoin taking a big jump over the weekend, up above 80K. I kind of almost feel like saying finally, just because it's been doing nothing for so long. Bitcoin has, really since March, kind of just going sideways and finally busting out the top there in pretty spectacular fashion. By the way, my valuation, still put that out there, and you can go and see that on the paid Discord. $3 a month. That's the cheapest that we can make it. It's mostly there to get rid of the bots. For $3 a month, I posted the latest picture over there. You can see what it is. But I'm not going to tell you what it is because I want you to go and pay $3. Good morning, Belligerent, Robert. Hey, I haven't seen you in a week or two. And Ray SS. Actually, maybe you were here last week. I don't know. If you were here last week and I don't remember, I feel bad. But well, the treasury market is super quiet here for starters. I need to reposition myself, get a little more centered in my seat here. I think I was late because I was daydreaming, because I was thinking about this whole thing with Jerome Powell and the new Trump administration and all of these things. So let's talk about it, since it's so strongly on my mind at the moment. So there was a Federal Reserve meeting last week, and the media is trying to play up this narrative that there is antagonism between the Federal Reserve Chairman and the Trump administration. And I would say that to some extent there has been some friction in the past, but really, I kind of feel like that this is all a concocted thing. I think that there are few people in the federal government today that support Donald Trump and his what is the word that we use? Agenda. Yes, so support Donald Trump and his agenda more than Jerome Powell. But Jerome Powell will fiercely defend the Federal Reserve's independence, as he should. And the Trump administration has said last time this kind of popped up, that they have no intention of trying to get Jerome Powell to resign or anything like that. So it's really like media, and then you got guys like Mike Lee and Elon Musk is kind of saying stuff too about the Federal Reserve, kind of inflaming the situation. I really wish they would stop that. Really wish they would stop that, because it really doesn't help Donald Trump's agenda, right? Like, if Jerome Powell was forced to resign, or just resigned out of I don't know, spite, would be a very bad thing for the markets. And many of the things that Donald Trump wants to do, and frankly things that need to happen, like shrinking the size of government and making government more efficient. Well, that is a lot of money that the government spends that goes on into the economy, and that the economy is kind of dependent on right now. So shrinking the size of government, even though it's something that needs to happen, is likely to have a short-term negative effect on the economy. So in order to be able to accomplish such goals, you need to have other factors going on in the economy to compensate. So for instance, we can come in with extending the tax cuts and really getting the markets going and excited. Some of the changes that Donald Trump has suggested are very stimulative. Okay, like no tax on overtime. That would be a very strong stimulus, right? To kind of counteract those effects of reducing government, right? So you kind of have to thread the needle. And the worst thing that could happen for Donald Trump's agenda right now is for Jerome Powell to resign and the dollar fall and just have the markets completely freak out. Okay. So we are not going to end the independence of the Federal Reserve. That's dumb. It's not going to happen. So stop playing into the media's narrative with it, please. Please. Brad's like, end the Fed, end the Fed. It's so crazy to me. Like, the big kind of on the crowd that wants to end the Federal Reserve completely, like the big tell is, well, what are you going to replace it with? Right? And they'll say gold, or maybe like a basket of commodities. It would be such a disaster, guys. It would be our economy is too large for a currency based on a commodity or gold or something like that. And markets have been generally more stable since the Federal Reserve has been created. There was some trouble at the beginning there because they didn't know how to use their tools. Okay. Like the Great Depression was absolutely the Federal Reserve's fault because they didn't know what they were doing. But I would say that since that time, the financial crises that we have had are just kind of pedestrian compared to the financial crises that we had in the 1800s, frankly. It was like economic turmoil every 5 years in the 1800s, and it was really crazy. So the Federal Reserve has been an extremely effective institution. One of the biggest factors behind why the economy has grown so strongly, and we have grown into the strong economy and strong world economy that we've had. You don't want to get rid of it. Maybe there should be some reforms at the Federal Reserve, but I kind of feel like that the things that we need to change about the Federal Reserve are kind of like internal things, are kind of like, Jerome Powell's term will end in 2 years, and then you get to put somebody else in, and you really want to have somebody that has some ideas about how that institution should change. There's some nepotism over there at the Federal Reserve. There's some economic ideas that are antiquated and, some economic modeling that isn't very effective. You need to change those things. Really what should be happening? Really what should be happening is that all of that ire needs to be redirected from the Federal Reserve and over to the Treasury Department and the Bureau of Labor Statistics, okay? Because what has been going on over there with the Bureau of Labor Statistics? This is just some crazy numbers coming out of there, right? One month, it's like blowout numbers, absolutely amazing, strong jobs numbers, and then the next, it's, oh no, the labor market is just absolutely decimated. I'm still really concerned about this scenario where we should have started reducing interest rates during the summer, and we didn't because of a combination of political pressure and concerns that sorry, I'm kind of losing my train of thought. Political pressure and bad data that led to concerns that the labor market was still overheating, when the reality under the hood was that the labor market was actually shrinking at the time. So maybe does like 3 months make a difference? Maybe it could. It seems like it's a chaotic system, so I kind of feel like it can. Anyways, so what should I do about it? I guess I should do what Republicans do best and write a strongly worded letter to my representative or something. Okay, well, the treasuries are up on the highs here, so I'm liking that. But so far, they're just kind of making it look like that dump that we had towards the open, they're just retracing that. So I don't know if that's a big deal. I do feel that flows are likely to be long here in the treasuries, but I don't have a whole lot of really strong flows here or anything like that. You know, what we should do is we should kind of take a look at the week that we got coming up here, huh? Well, it's a French bank holiday. Well, it's a U.S. bank holiday too, for Veterans Day. That's right. Only want the dollar here. I got some Fed speakers today, but much later in the session. Bunch next. Well, no, not today. That's tomorrow. A bunch of Fed speakers on Wednesday. And then PPI. CPI and PPI, huh? Okay. And retail sales. Oh, wow. Okay, so we actually have a pretty packed economic week this week, don't we? So, on one hand, I'm thinking about it in terms of the treasuries and, so here's the CPI, for instance. CPI, they're looking for a reading in core CPI of spot 3 month over month, which would be in line with the numbers that we've got the past 2 months, and kind of provides opportunity for it to be spot 2, and the markets to be happy about that. So that could be a buy in the treasuries. But I'm also thinking, what might we have in the S&P 500? I don't know if I really have anything. I still kind of want to YOLO gamble with it. I don't think this spot is the best spot to try and do that. But if I'm going to YOLO, I think I have to kind of just lean on the side of buying, even though I don't really have anything. It's time to trim the beard a little bit. It's getting a little bushy, and it's brushing up against my face itches. Or it tickles. So from r/trading, question for traders with at least a decade of experience: how has the market changed? I'm a young adult starting to explore the world of investing, and I'm curious to hear from investors who have been actively investing for at least 10 or 20 years. I know that in the past 5 years, online trading has boomed, attracting many newcomers, but has this really made everything more volatile as a result? How did the markets behave before this surge? What differences are you noticing? I'm going to write a response here to this person. Hold on a second. All right. So the treasuries did move up. Did I never recenter things? Let's just recenter things just to be sure. There is that 10 above us. I think that there's a really good chance that we get to that. I don't know if taking an order here really is worth it. I probably should have noticed that earlier and taken it. But, after 10, it might be difficult for a little bit. But then I do I'm hoping at least that they extend a little bit and kind of recover some of the overnight losses. But we'll see. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 looks pretty meh. Down a little bit over the most recent. So. So the other day on Reddit, there's this meme. So this person's saying, so you mean to tell me Trump won because Elon bought Twitter? And some people are saying that. I don't know if he's saying that this is like a serious theory or he's making fun of it, but I said, can you guys pick one already? Either Twitter has become an irrelevant wasteland or it's such an impactful social network that it sways elections. These cannot both be true. I expected to get downvoted into oblivion for that one, but I got 26 upvotes. So maybe people are starting to push back in advice animals now. Joe and Elon helped him win. I mean, they certainly didn't hurt. It certainly didn't hurt, right? I'm a little bit skeptical. So let's try and people like successful people. Yeah. So let's try and sort this all out. Okay. So the question is, why election? Okay, you can put this as, why did Trump win? Or you could put this as, why did Kamala lose? That's all kind of a matter of perspective. That's why I'm just going to say, why election? There are many, many theories out there about why election. Let's talk about some of them. Well, one theory is Joe Biden sucks. Okay. I mean, he did not... he maybe shouldn't have run. Okay. Maybe he shouldn't have run. They should have had a real primary process. Did Joe Biden kind of kneecap the Democrats with that whole thing? And, when we found out that he basically wasn't mentally competent enough to debate Donald Trump, was the election decided just then and there? Maybe. The next one would be inflation sucks. Right? So one of the things that I've seen out there is that the incumbent party, regardless of political ideology, has basically been thrown out of power in pretty much every major country over the last year. Now, I don't think that is as much a thing as some people might say. Like some people will say, well, see, that has nothing to do with the policies or whether they're Republican or Democrat or anything like that. But actually, it kind of is, because the parties in power across the world are almost all pro-globalism right now, even if they're right-wing pro-globalists. So, you know? Okay. Next one. Kamala sucks. Right? Okay. She's has a very, very liberal past. She was like one of the most unpopular vice presidents ever. Maybe she was just really a poor candidate to begin with, right? The next one, and this is kind of similar, but I do want to make a distinction between them. Okay. There is one thing that, like, Kamala Harris is just not a very likable politician. But then there's also that they made some, like, really big strategic mistakes. Holding her away from the media for the first, like, month or two of her campaign, really, really big mistake. Her whole, like, pitch to voters, trying to portray herself as like hope and change when she's basically part of the previous administration and wouldn't change anything. Okay. There's like the candidate that you got, and then there's how that candidate ran their campaign. And how they ran that campaign was really terrible. It was really quite terrible. There's the Democrat message sucks, okay? But then, and I kind of make those distinction between those two, because then I want to make a distinction between those two and the last one, which is the Democrat agenda sucks. Okay, the Democrat agenda is basically government bureaucrats are amazing. We should have open borders and as much trade with China as possible. Like that's basically because those are the three things. Those, in my opinion, those are the three stools of the America First movement. Those are the three things that have kind of turned people against the kind of led to Donald Trump moving away from the Democrat Party and becoming a Republican. So those three issues that are turning people off. And I say that people are sick of the Democrat agenda overall. They don't want open borders. They're concerned about the jobs that are being moving overseas, that we don't have any kind of production over here in the United States whatsoever anymore, that government bureaucrats have so much power and that the government is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay. Like, people are concerned about those things, and the Democrats have kind of been like all in on those things. And that, you know, right? Okay. And then lastly, you have Trump campaign. How should I say it? What's the opposite of sucks? Rocks? I don't know. Let's say rocks. Okay. Donald Trump ran one of the greatest campaigns we will ever see. Word scramble. I probably spelled campaign wrong, huh? Anyways, the whole McDonald's thing it was so brilliant. I really think that 50 years from now, that we will look back on Donald Trump going to McDonald's historically as the greatest PR stunt of all time. He really ran an amazing campaign. And then, yes, he did also go on Joe Rogan and, had Elon Musk help him. And Donald Trump, I think one of the things that was unique about Donald Trump, and really something that the Democrats tried to duplicate but were not able to do, but like the change has been that they were really out to get those low propensity voters to come out and vote. Like single men is a demographic that is not as likely to vote. Single working class men. And the Trump campaign really catered their message specifically to that demographic and got them out to vote. And the Democrat people didn't. The Democrat people didn't at all. So coming back over here on your guys' comments, Twitter is one of the only places on the internet you're able to express yourself and share data for what you believe. That is true. The other social networks are all kind of, I feel like that I can generally say what I want on YouTube, but I've got to be careful about it. And there have been times where there's specific things you're not allowed to talk about, for sure. Uzi, I think a big part was not as many people giving a crap. Turnout wasn't as good for Democrats. There's still like 8 million votes short of Biden. Yeah, so that seems to be the case to me, but they're still counting. So I don't know if we can really do a really effective analysis of that until they're really, truly done. But from what I have seen, less people turned out. Here in Utah, it was certainly the case. There was not really a high-level campaign that was really a big deal. There was some stuff that was kind of like inter-party Republican fighting, like the primaries were kind of bigger. But even on that, it was really like an upstart trying to kick out the incumbent establishment candidates and just utterly failing to do so. So most people here in Utah didn't really care. I did not see that many people over at the polls. It was relatively quiet. People were not nearly as interested in coming out. But you know what? I kind of think that is kind of still part of like the same thing. Like before, everybody was told that Trump is Hitler and all of this other crazy stuff, and people had a lot of thoughts about COVID. People were really concerned about COVID, but then on the other hand, a lot of people were really concerned about the restrictions that were being put in place. Unfortunately, people disliking the restrictions, it didn't really dawn on them until Joe Biden was in charge, how bad that was going to get, right? And so we had a big turnout, and then on top of that, they changed all of these rules, right? So I'm really, really interested to see the thing that I'm going to be looking for after this election, once we're done doing all of the counting and everything, is studies looking at this. County by county, state by state, what rules changed, what can we, derive from that? How much did those rules affect turnout versus people's just overall apathy towards things? I don't know. But, that kind of falls into Joe Biden sucks, kind of, doesn't it? I don't know. But, like, here's the thing. Here's my argument. I think that so why which is the answer here? Why election? And my argument is it had to be all of them. I really don't think that you can explain what happened without all of these factors being at play. I really don't. the one that really kills me. Okay, Democrats think that their agenda is fine. And if they continue to push this agenda, which is basically open borders. Sorry, my brain is I'm still going. I'm still getting going here, okay? Open borders, unrestricted trade with China, and government bureaucrats stay in forever and do whatever they want. This is a policy platform that I really don't think that the Americans are on board for. And if they continue to hold to this, then what we should see is next time around, maybe 2028, you won't have Joe Biden around. Inflation won't be as big of a problem. You can pick a candidate and have a real primary. You can, have an actually effective campaign and all of these things. And you might even have a Republican that's, doesn't have the same kind of cult following behind him, maybe isn't as good of a campaigner, etc., and still see the Democrats lose big time. Could still see the Democrats lose big time, because I personally think that the globalist Democrat agenda is a bigger factor at play than people realize. And here's my argument for that is twofold. Number one, you are seeing this across the board. The far right, let's say like far right upstarts are gaining popularity in basically every Western country. So it's not just a United States thing. So people around the world are starting to go, you know what? Like, yeah, we grew a lot. Globalism was generally overall a good thing, but there are some negative things to it too. And we need to fix those things, because there's a group of people that have been hurting for too long, and it just can't be allowed to continue any longer. We need to bring some balance and create an economy that works for everybody. The other reason that I would say that this has to be a factor in here is that you saw huge The other reason that I think that this is a major factor is because you saw huge gains towards Trump, even in heavy Democrat areas. We're talking about like 10 to 20 point swings in heavy Democrat states like New York. Okay, these are people that they understand what's going on. They don't necessarily like Donald Trump. They know what the Democrat policy agenda is. They're watching like mainstream media sources. So they're not necessarily being influenced by all of the conservative propaganda and all of those sorts of things. And a swing like that can't just be, uninformed voters that don't really know what's going on. Okay, so you still see that shift. That can only be explained by that voters did not like the agenda. They didn't like the actual policies that were being presented. So it really has to be all of the above. But that one's the most important, because that's the only one on that list that is likely to still be there in 2028. Unless, they pick Bernie Sanders or someone like that, and then maybe it will turn around. And then you might see that whole movement switch over to Democrat and see the same kind of groundswell of support for the Democrat that you saw for Donald Trump. So that's my opinion on, how the election went. So yes, Kamala Harris choosing to not go on Joe Rogan, a mistake, but it wasn't the deciding factor. Now, this kind of ties back into the thing that I was talking about earlier, man. Yeah, in 2020, someone comes to your door to collect ballots. Chances are you're home. In 2024, not so much. It's true. It's true. I think that there's that is a factor to some extent. No, but one of the issues that I have now is that, okay, like, I'm really glad that Elon Musk started to get involved. Like, I'm glad that Elon Musk bought Twitter. I hope it works out. I'm really concerned that it's not going to work out in the long run. I think that they've made some mistakes. Like, I do not believe that in order to have free speech on a social media platform, that it has to be objectable to advertisers as well. Okay, because that's kind of what's started to happen. Now, part of that is that I'm just not sure that, you really get that much for your advertising on Twitter. And that's kind of always been a problem with Twitter, right? So that's not Elon Musk's fault. But, what they did have was they had some strong relationships with large companies and salespeople that did a good job getting the advertisements and everything for the platform. And now they don't have that, and I am quite concerned that what we got on Twitter is not going to last. And then on top of that, you've got like other platforms like Blue Sky and stuff like that kind of challenging them and actually starting to do well. So Threads is still kind of like a wasteland. Like, there's a lot of people on Threads apparently, but I haven't really seen anything all that valuable on Threads. Blue Sky has started to pick up kind of more like the independent creators. So like, if you want to look at artwork and gaming creators and stuff like that, there's more stuff over on Blue Sky for that now, and it is starting to develop a community. So Blue Sky is like a viable community now. I haven't seen anything that really challenges X for like news, politics, financial markets, but I kind of feel like that it's only a matter of time before they start to challenge that as well. So I'm kind of concerned that the Twitter thing's not going to work out for Elon. Then on top of that, I kind of see Republicans like really psyching themselves out, man, over like the Federal Reserve and all of these sorts of things. So Elon is kind of starting to say things about the Federal Reserve. I'm not sure, has he said that we should just abolish the Federal Reserve? I don't know if I've seen a tweet to that effect, but there are tweets where they're basically saying like we should get rid of Jerome Powell. I really feel that this is just all in your heads, guys. I think that Jerome Powell is a Republican. He was put in there by Donald Trump. I feel that he's quite supportive of Donald Trump's agenda overall, even if there might be individual points in here that he disagrees with. But he's the chairman of the Federal Reserve. His part is not policy, so he doesn't talk about that sort of stuff, and he's really good at staying in his lane and just telling us what's going on in the economy and what the Federal Reserve has to do to support the government's policy goals. And he getting rid of him would be a really bad idea. It's totally like this thing, like they should be getting along, I guess that's what I'm saying. Really, Donald Trump and Jerome Powell should be getting along, and the only reason that they're not is because the media is implanting this idea in everybody's head that Powell opposes him, and that they're going to be like the deep state, and there's nothing they can do about it. Right? It's absolutely crazy. Just chill, Elon. I'm gonna send Mike Lee a letter, because Mike Lee was kind of the one tweeting that, and then Elon like retweeted it and all these sorts of things. I think Mike reads those things. I'm gonna tell him, listen, if you want to support Donald Trump's policy goals, the worst thing that could happen to Donald Trump's agenda right now is for Jerome Powell to resign as federal chairman. Okay. we should try and turn that one into a short. The whole thing about why did the election turn out the way that it did. We'll see if I have time. That's actually probably a good spot for me to come in here and say, let's see here, what do I got to do today? Oh, yeah. Did I do everything that I wanted to do on Friday? Let's see here. Almost. Let's see here. I think I have an interview today. Yes, too. One of the problems that I have right now, I kind of always thought, this isn't such a big problem for me, but it is. It actually is a huge problem for me. Is like, if there's like some sort of a meeting or a test or something, something where I have to perform in that moment, it's really hard for me to do anything else. So like, I do have an interview. I got a couple of other things that I want to do today. I will probably have a hard time doing anything other than studying for that interview until that interview happens. Okay. Oh, by the way, I did fix my market order imbalance, and it was the problem that I thought it was, and so far it appears to be working. So hopefully we get that all sorted out and have a release for you guys this week. Justice for Peanut. I should have put Peanut on that list there. Might have been a major factor. Yes. Just hope Trump is not going to be a pussy and go after all the people that screwed with him. He can't let them get away with the stuff they pulled. Well, I agree, but at the same time, they need to be smart about it. Okay? Like, the chairman of the Federal Reserve is not one of the people that are screwing with him. Okay? I think that Jerome Powell is a Republican, that he's generally supportive of the president's policy goals, and that the Federal Reserve has made mistakes, but they tend to make mistakes around those times. Really, we need to change the Federal Reserve. We need them to be using better science. This whole stuff, a book that's worth reading, Making Sense of Chaos, Better Economics for a Better World by J. Doyne Farmer. And this is one of the greatest economic researchers of the last century. And he has some really keen insights that help explain why the field of economics is what it is, and why we have such trouble kind of predicting some of these things, and science that is better adapted to dealing with those sorts of challenges. Science that the Federal Reserve does a little bit with, but I think that they should rely upon more heavily. But you've got some people at the Federal Reserve that are kind of like career people that are just really comfortable and resting on their laurels. And you don't really have a culture over there at the Federal Reserve of people, really working and, to upset the status quo and find new ways of doing things and all of that, which is, I think you kind of need in an organization like that. So that's where the Federal Reserve needs to change, right? There are some agencies where there's people in the agencies that are just trouble. There's been, like, that's it, the military in particular, okay? There's people at the top of the military that have completely endorsed this woke DEI nonsense and is really hurting our military, for instance. And military recruitment is down. Like, that's, I think, a large part were a major factor. The wokeness is a major factor behind that. Okay, there was definitely people at all levels of government that worked against Donald Trump, that, you know, and where crimes were committed, they should absolutely go after them. Okay, but don't turn it into a witch hunt, man. Like them going after Jerome Powell, a Republican who's going to be supportive of their agenda and is just doing what they're supposed to do at the Federal Reserve based on the data. That says to me that this is turning into a witch hunt, right? Don't let it become a witch hunt. Let's focus on the people that we know did things bad and that they can be prosecuted. I would also say I kind of feel like you should let Biden go. Joe Biden and his son Hunter, they did things wrong. They did. But I think you should just forget about it. Because you're going to go and you're going to prosecute him, and it's going to turn into this big antagonistic thing. And then if a Democrat wins in 2028, they're going to turn around and prosecute Donald Trump again. And it's just, we just don't need that. Just let that one go. Just go find all of the bureaucrats that are in there that were stymieing Donald Trump's agenda, and get rid of them. I don't know. Yeah, like the DAs, judges. Well, for judges, I don't know if DAs and judges, I don't know if there's a whole lot they can do about those, though. It's going to be people under the executive branch, right? Yeah. You know, like one of the problems that I see is that the people that are the biggest problem right now pushing against Donald Trump's agenda, and that you kind of have to deal with during a Trump term, is Republicans in the Senate, right? Like there's a real chance here that we're going to get, well, it seems to me that Mitch McConnell did kind of turn into a anti-Trumper, and he is now kind of making moves to undermine Donald Trump's presidency before it even begins. And I don't know what you do about that one, man. I hope that the right people win for majority leader in the Senate. Catching up with you, Rod. I got everything right on election stuff. One thing I would point out is the ground game for Trump was crazy, as Elon and Pressler, the door knocker guy, was busing Amish people to the polls. Yes. Well, so there was concern that Donald Trump's ground game and the way that they were playing their ground game was going to fail spectacular. That was kind of one of the Democrat theories about how things would turn out, was that the Trump turnout wouldn't be very good. And I think that theory was basically false. But I wouldn't necessarily say that meant that the Republican ground game was really good. I think that they got like the key constituencies that they needed to in Pennsylvania out. But I still have some concerns for the future of the Republican Party and their turnout gain, because I never really felt like that Donald Trump had a strong election day turnout sort of game. And like some of these numbers that we're seeing do kind of suggest that, you know, just turnout overall is down. But I don't think I completely understand that yet. We don't have all of the data, because I'm still being told that like it was unprecedented turnout in many places. So I think it was at least 4. Well, where do you get that from though? There was 4 times more effective than other door knockers. Well, I have to see. Like all we can say is that it wasn't a negative factor. But I don't think that you could sit down and say, oh, their turnout game was really, really good. And if they had gone with the more traditional Republican turnout game, like they had used in 2016, that he wouldn't have won. Right. I don't know if we can see that. I don't have data. Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah. It is very clear to me, though, that Scott... Well, and you know what else, though, Ryan? I think that you and I might be kind of thinking about slightly different things. So, Scott Pressler is this guy that just decided to make this organization to put all of his effort into getting as many Republicans registered in Pennsylvania as possible, right? That was very effective. Scott Pressler was very, very effective. And, you know, there were some people complaining about that the Republican Party wasn't doing a whole lot, but those private organizations got it done. They really did. But I'm kind of talking about, like, election day, how you get people out to the polls. I'm a door knocker in a totally different industry for a living. Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, so Pressler as a worker is arguably the biggest help that the GOP had, probably. I firmly believe that if Scott Pressler was not there, that he would not have delivered Pennsylvania to Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump maybe probably still would have won, but I don't know if he would have won Pennsylvania. But that was really more in registration and not on election day organizing. I still have concerns about election day organizing. Like on the registration front, that was never in question because everybody could see that the Republicans had gained in registrations. The thing that everybody was saying was that they wouldn't get those people out on election day. And I don't know if they really did. But it seems to me like that getting the registered voters was mattered more. Yeah, they needed Pennsylvania to know. Well, yeah, you're probably right as well on that. I'm just kind of thinking back to like my whole framework of like, here's all of the things that why did the election turn out the way that it did? You have to have all of them. And I guess that Scott Pressler has to be inserted in there as well. There were many people on the Republican side that really pushed and got registrations out and worked really hard. But the whole thing is that it was still relatively close in Pennsylvania, but he got the other swing states as well, right? So he could have lost Pennsylvania. He would have been unlikely. Because, like, why would he lose Pennsylvania and win, Michigan, for instance? But I heard they registered as high as 100K Amish. Well, my recollection was that the overall gain in Republican voters to Democrat voters was around 100K. And that a major factor behind that was registering Amish people to vote, yes. they saved America. Well, we're not out of the woods yet. Listen, Republicans. I gotta talk to you, Republicans. I've kind of said this before, but I don't know if I really focused on it as hard as I should. But you get Republicans. Gotta pay attention here, okay? You're not used to winning. You're not used to winning. Especially those of you that are kind of like the pro-Trump side of the Republican Party, right? You haven't been involved in inter-party politics and all of that sort of stuff. Once you get elected is when the real work begins. There's going to be a lot of opposition here on this. Donald Trump being able to implement his agenda is not a given. There are still people in government working against him. There are people in his own party and in the Senate that are working against him. And it's going to be a battle every step of the way. And you've kind of got to learn how to take the organizations and structures and everything that you've built up during the campaign and keep it going, right? Most of these guys, like maybe you've been visiting patriots.win or whatever, or you've been, talking with people on different social media networks, right? And then the temptation is, okay, we won the election, my work is done, and then you don't talk about it anymore. And if you do that, you will probably lose. So you've got to learn what winning looks like what governing looks like. I don't really feel like that we got the full taste of that in Trump's first term, because there was all of this chaos and all of these other things going against him, right? Well, now you know. Those are the sorts of things that are going to come up. So you've got to expect it, be ready for it, and be able to continue to pursue your agenda in spite of the opposition. And then you're going to have to learn what governing actually looks like. It's going to be funny watching them, because like Congress hasn't done anything in like 20 years. Congress doesn't know how to govern, and Republicans specifically don't know how to govern. Okay, so we're going to have to figure it out. Okay, but let me tell you one thing that is a major part of governing. Okay, don't self-own. Don't come in and screw yourself over because you've got yourself so psyched up you turn on yourself. There are people like Jerome Powell that are probably some of our best assets right now, and conservatives are attacking him because of some idea that's concocted in our heads that he's going to oppose the Trump agenda. It's absolutely ridiculous. Okay? Don't get drawn into those fights. Stay focused on the prize. Okay? Right now, where the fight really is in the Senate with the Senate Majority Leader. Because if you get a Senate Majority Leader that's anti-Trump, that will make it awfully difficult to get anything done. Okay? They're running an election fraud narrative on the left. That's unnerving because media will back it. Well, I think I've seen what you're talking about as well, but it doesn't seem to be too serious yet. Like what did I heard that I saw some, let's see, I'm thinking 3. I've seen a lot of like prominent Twitter accounts and stuff like that saying, oh, there was election fraud. Most people pointing to those and being like, well, you look stupid when you say that stuff. Another story was that Elon Musk had some way of being able to see what the results were long before they were coming through. So there's a conspiracy theory about that. I have no clue what it was that he could actually be doing, but I don't think that it's probably like what like that it's actually election fraud or anything like that. And then I saw that Kamala Harris, he used Starlink to hack the election. That's exactly it. Right. And then we also heard that Kamala Harris was seeking donations to investigate election fraud. But That one is probably just because the campaign is like $20 million in debt or something. But Donald Trump said he was going to pay for it, so like, I think it's fine. You're right with that strategy. I think some people are worried about Powell because if there's a recession that happens in March, they will blame Trump and then Powell will let him fail at that point. But like, again, this is like the crazy thing here to me about this all is that Powell is doing the thing that they want. Like they're getting all uppity about Powell and Powell's going to undermine the administration. Powell is cutting interest rates right now, and we anticipate that they will continue cutting interest rates through all of 2025. Okay? So like, what are you all so worried about? It's just crazy. You know what? Like if there is a quote unquote recession in March, which I honestly think is kind of unlikely, to be honest with you. But if there was one in March, it's already baked in. There's nothing you can do about it. You know? So it really is like friendly fire. I really feel like they're doing something that like really objectively hurts Trump's agenda. And they don't really realize it, right? Like more broadly, guys, don't listen to Ron Paul. He has no fucking clue what he's talking about. Okay, Ron Paul has ideas about economics that are just flat out wrong and stupid. He thinks that we should go back to a gold standard. He doesn't understand how the monetary system works. He doesn't really understand how the Federal Reserve works. And he always wants to do things that are just objectively terrible. Like the one that he always gets people with. I'll share this one because it's like it fools people. Okay, the whole audit the Federal Reserve. Like, yeah, the Congress should be able to see what the Federal Reserve is doing. Absolutely, totally agree. They already have pretty good oversight over the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve gives an account of what's going on and all of these sorts of things. Now, there is some information, like which banks are currently using the discount window. Okay, that's information that you really don't want out because it would hurt those companies. And so they don't tell Congress about them in the moment, but after the fact, they do find out. Okay. So then why is Ron Paul pushing all this stuff about audit the Federal Reserve? Every time that he pushes this bill, there's a provision in there that basically allows them to go in and look at the decisions that they made and gives Congress or the president some sort of override of Federal Reserve decisions. Okay? It really comes down to politicians want to control interest rates, which would just be the absolute stupidest idea ever. Okay? You think that Congress does a really bad job with the budget? Watch them get a hold of interest rates. Okay? It would be ridiculous. The politicians always will want interest rates to be low. Okay. Elizabeth Warren has been arguing for the last 2 years, sending letters to the Federal Reserve every couple of months about how they shouldn't be raising interest rates, even though we have unprecedented inflation. Okay. The politicians always want the interest rates to be low. So don't give them that power. It would be such a disaster. And that's what they're doing, is they kind of bait you with all this stuff like, oh, well, we need to audit the Federal Reserve and there's the deep state. But really, this is all just kind of a veil over them wanting political control over interest rates. Don't fall for it. Yeah, Bitcoin Standard Fed boy. I tell you what, man. So the big push in the Bitcoin space is we've had a few corporations, they invest in Bitcoin. Now we need countries to invest in Bitcoin. Okay. As far as I can tell from the data that I look at and everything else, I'm very, very confident at this point that Tether is acting as a wildcat bank. Tether will print Tether, and not all of that Tether is backed 1-to-1 by actual dollars. They will give somebody a loan that somebody will give them like $1 million, and then Tether will print $2 million. So they are acting like a bank, which wouldn't necessarily be a problem, except for that, like, it's completely unregulated, and they don't have a license to be acting as a bank. So when that comes crashing down, Bitcoin is going to be decimated. Like, I'm not sure that Bitcoin can even stay above 20K if Tether went under. No joke. Meanwhile, they want countries to invest in this, right? The whole setup here, you got to understand, the whole setup here is to get as many people to buy into it as possible, so you have exit liquidity, push the price up of it, right? So that you get rich. And the problem is that if they succeed, that's like the worst thing that could happen to Bitcoin, because then everybody's bought in, then the whole world economy is based on Bitcoin, and then the next recession that happens is basically ends up being a depression, because you have absolutely no way to stimulate the economy at that point. The monetary supply needs to adjust itself based on economic conditions. That's why we have a Federal Reserve. If you don't have that, it's just going to be a dump, right? And like, the issue is that Bitcoin is extremely deflationary. It's extremely deflationary, like more so than gold. Gold's value is relatively stable, but Bitcoin's is not. It's designed to always go up. So yeah, you get that, and then when there's a recession, the value of Bitcoin just plummets, and the value of everything plummets, and it's just it'll be a nightmare. It'll be a nightmare. Oh man. Well, let's be careful with that one, right? Like to invest in Bitcoin right now, the bet on Bitcoin is basically you're betting on whether Tether will get away with it. Like, seriously. And I think there's a pretty good chance that they do get away with it. That by the time that it's found out that Tether is basically acting like a bank, that there will be enough people in government and so forth invested in it that they will just look the other way. That's the real bet that you're making right now if you're in Bitcoin. I don't really know how it turns out. I'm just warning you. That's what it is. I feel like it can only get on a hard asset currency if the whole world is booming. Well, like that, the whole problem is that it looks great while things are going up, but as soon as you have a recession, it falls apart, and it falls apart quickly. Think about Bitcoin just after the pandemic. I mean, it's kind of crazy how Bitcoin became like the flight to safety thing, okay? But during COVID, Bitcoin crashed in spectacular fashion, and then there was the FTX crash, okay? Absolutely insane crashes. Imagine the whole world economy is based on that. You would never recover. I'll tell you something else. There's some Bitcoin opponents, so I'm trying to think about, if like the guys from Blockstream and Tether were here arguing with me, what would be the sorts of things that they'd say? Well, some things like treasuries are only super stable because they have so much liquidity and they're more mature markets, and as Bitcoin becomes more valuable and more people are using it, the volatility in it will become less. False. Absolutely false. The volatility is largely an endogenous phenomenon. There's more volatility than would be justified by anything about the fundamentals or liquidity. The reality is that liquidity demands always outpace liquidity provision. So in an asset like Bitcoin, that is naturally volatile because of its limited supply and its consistent supply. Like, we know how much is going to be made. That makes it volatile. And so the more people that trade it, the more volatile it would get. So Bitcoin would be just as volatile, if not more volatile, as a quote unquote world currency than it is today. It's just the science. That's what the science suggests. The reason that treasuries are so stable is because they're designed to be that way. They're all of these things, everything about the rules around how they're traded and how they're put out there and everything else to make them extremely stable assets. They're not just that because so widely traded. There's plenty of things out there that are widely traded and still volatile. Like Nvidia shares. I don't know. I was writing down my agenda here for the day, and I never completed here. Anything left over from that? Oh, that reminds me, we have a video out, guys. It's there, right? Let's see. Yeah. So, this video is a little bit different. So first of all, this is a video that, especially if you're new to order flow, I would really highly recommend watching. This basically is kind of addressing some misconceptions about order flow that many people misunderstand what it is, what we're looking at. So if you're new to this, this would be an extremely good video to watch. We talk about this on the stream all the time, and I answer this question for people on the stream all the time. And I've just finally gone and made a video about it. And it's kind of like some people wonder if there's really that much use to order flow because they look at it, they don't understand how to read it. But the thing that's unique about this one is that somebody helped me edit the video and they made the thumbnail. So, I'm not picky and I'm not sure that I know what actually, well, I mean, I have my ideas about what makes a good thumbnail, but I'm not 100,000 subscriber YouTube channel, so let's let somebody else give a try. So we let somebody else, they made the thumbnail, they did some video editing for it. So make sure that you go and give that video a watch, so that he has a chance to show what it is and leave some comments about what you think about it. I thought, I'm not going to say that it's like the most pro editing ever, but I thought that it added to the video, and I hope that it improves the engagement so that we can afford to continue to pay him and grow the channel. So that video is out, and I gave you guys the link there so that you can watch it. At the very least, let's let this video do better than the last two, because those two never really took off. At least they didn't have as many views in the first 24 hours. I think that this one should have a lot more views in the first. Let me tell you what, in this video, I kind of show you some signals on the DOM, which I haven't done in a while, but actually showing you some changes that ended up being pretty big ones. And I wish I had kind of had it as a better set up to be able to show you what happened afterwards. But just know, I show you some really powerful signals in there that turned into really big moves. They're it's really wild looking at in retrospect. And they're very clear changes. So if you want to see an example of a change like that, that video is like one of the best ones that I got. Now I've got the next video is going to be about the funded trader programs. I kind of got some more ideas about addressing the funded trader program. Like, I got a complete script, so that is going to be the next one. It's funded trader programs. Although I might be changing it because, oh, where did I see this at? Did you guys hear about the whole thing about Fast Track Trader? I saw some stuff that basically they had like gone under in the past week, and that all of their text messages and so forth were coming out. V2 is live, huh? Executes a rug pull. There was like a leak. Where are they getting the leaks from? See if I want to read some of the leaks. Okay, well, this guy's got a Twitter. Maybe most of the information is coming through Twitter. I thought that I would find stuff on Reddit, but, well, let's see. Discord nuked. You're playing with ChatGPT? You know, I really want to try the new 4.0, but I haven't bothered to do it. To pay for it and try it out. Wow. Where are these? You see, I see people saying stuff on Reddit. FTT paid about 16 million on Rise payroll platform and data deals. Website design, so that leaves about 10 to 12 million by that math, and the connection to their Rise, the money might as well be theirs. That 12 million got split and is being moved around. Crazy. This is exactly why I will not push funded trader program affiliate links for anyone. Not even for Top Step. It's just like what I see is a business that's ripe for abuse, and I don't want to be associated with it. Right? Like anybody that was involved in this is just like totally screwed, right? Maybe I need to do a little bit more digging today so we can kind of like review it here on the stream tomorrow. Do you have any updates? Oh, well, so I did make a few changes to it, but nothing that should affect. I forget. Oh, there's more than one of you guys that are like messing around with it right now. If you message me on Discord, I can send you the latest version for you to beta test. I made some changes the other day so that you can like make it selective. So if you only want to output the volume events and not the market depth events, it can do that now. A little bit of work for like logging messages and stuff like that, but things that you wouldn't notice. Yeah, got some changes. I've been watching this one because I also made a change to market order imbalance. There was a bug in it. It looks like I've resolved the bug. I need to leave it all day to be sure, but so it's not on the site yet. No, but if you message me on Discord, I'll send it to you. Yeah, I mean, once I put it on the website, then it's like, then I kind of have to start supporting it, right? Because the thing is, if you're going to use the beta, you have to understand that it is like a beta. Like it could not, might still have some issues. And basically what happens is I give it out, and I have a couple of you guys that are really, man, you'll just check every little thing, and you'll check all of the data that it's putting out by hand and all of that sort of stuff. So when I put something out like that and I don't get any complaints for a week or two, and then usually it's good. But I was having my own complaints with it, so I fixed all of those problems. Give it a week. But if you want it earlier than that, I'll send it to you. Probably not today, because I've already got too many things on my plate today, but maybe tomorrow I'll package up the new version and send it to a couple of guys. Like if it gets through this day, the issue was that the market order imbalance, it was kind of offset incorrectly, and so like what was happening was a bar from 10 bars ago or 11 bars ago was being taken out instead of from 10 bars ago being taken out. And sometimes that in certain situations that could result in numbers that were like greater than 1 or were like negative numbers and all sorts of weird stuff like that. So that's the problem with the market. That's that problem that I fixed. Is that your platform you're using? Well, so these are NinjaTrader indicators that we're talking about, Lewis. I would like to make my own platform, but I don't think that we have the time right now. We did a poll about it, and y'all said that you would rather me YOLO on the ES futures than build a platform. So, but these are my indicators. They're a part of they're NinjaTrader 8. So, you go to speculatorset.com. You can download the indicators and try them for free. This is something I don't know how to tell people this, because I get a lot of people that they buy it before they've even tried it. Which if you want, that's fine. I'm totally happy with that. But part of the thing is that you are able to try it for 2 weeks, see that you actually use them and that they're valuable before you put money on them. And then they're only $100. So I'm really being generous here, I feel. You know, I do that because I feel that there are many people out there that really their indicators aren't worth anything, and people will buy them and never use them. And you know, and that's because you can't really try it until you've paid for it. And then once you've paid for it, you know, you convince yourself that it's a valuable investment no matter what, right? This way, you give yourself a trial version. You can actually make like an objective determination as to whether it will fit in with your trading or not. Right? So you go to speculatorseth.com, click on downloads, download and install the indicators. And that's all you have to do. And they will work for 2 weeks. Then after 2 weeks, then you have to buy the license, which is $100 for a lifetime license. And if you've been thinking about it, if you've ever been like, well, you know, I would like to buy Seth's indicators, but I don't know if now is the right time or anything, you should do it now, because I may have to increase the price on them. With the amount of time that I've been putting into them, I'm going to have to start putting that in, you know, in between jobs and everything. But there are people that sell lesser things for much, much more. Okay, anyways, I'm distracted myself here. You know what, here on these things to do. Even though it might not be today, I'm going to write it down on this list so I don't forget. So the thing on the list here is investigate fast track trading, something that I want to spend some more time on, but I've got a bunch of other things in front of that first. Gonna have to be focused today. I heard my phone ringing, but it is just spam. It might have been a recruiter, actually. It was marked as spam, but it might have been a recruiter. Let's see here. Let's pull this into a different window and audio recording chat link. Leak? I guess I'll just watch these videos about it. No, there's a number of people making stuff about this too. Doesn't look like any of them have really caught traction though. I read that one. So this is the thing that I saw yesterday. This is like texts. These are like texts. Pointing out that there's one guy, his strategy was basically hedging between NQ and mini NQ. And this person was trying to figure out like how are they doing that and everything. But what would you say is a reasonable amount to start live trading futures, especially if someone is looking forward to trading the big futures contracts like UB? Oh man, for me to feel comfortable trading UB, I think that I would probably want $10,000 minimum. But it really kind of starts to depend on what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to do. Kind of the whole issue with some of these funded trader programs is that essentially what they're doing is they're setting the parameters of their programs to numbers that work against you. Okay, so they have a $500 loss limit over there in ES, right? Or not ES in the combine overall. Isn't it $500 or is it $1,000 on some of them? But basically the gist of it is that like they set that volatility to a level that like there has been a move in the past that would destroy you. There will have been a move in the past that will destroy you. Like there's a certain amount of risk that you have to be able to take on to even like really play the game. You know, especially if you're going to swing, you know, how much can it swing against you? Well, quite a bit. And so you need a certain amount of money there to be able to handle that loss, right? And the combines all set you so that it's low. So again, there's like $1,000 daily loss limit, and then you go, oh, okay, that's fine because there's a larger combine, right? Well, that's why the larger combines have a less favorable target to trailing drawdown ratio. It's because they don't get as many people that blow out the account from the daily loss limit. Right? So I'm only pointing that out to give you an idea of, okay, this is one of the biggest things that will hold you back as a trader is how much risk you're able to take on. And in UB, you're going to be taking on a lot of risk. You are. I mean, it's the tick size of that is a lot. You can lose $1,000 in those instruments very, very easily, right? So 10K would be like the minimum, like that I would even consider trading that instrument. And if you were really going to try and be serious about it and like trade for a living with it and that sort of a thing, like you would have to have a lot more than that. Frankly, if you were going to try and make a living from trading futures, I think that you would want to have a minimum of $100,000 account. Minimum. But, you know, there's these micro yield futures, and that's only $10 at a time. So, like, if your goal is to trade and to trade live and to learn, then you can do it in the micro treasuries. Probably $1,000 is you know, a good starting point. And you put $1,000 in there and you trade it smart and conservatively and everything. There are the fees, like the data fees is like $50 a month, which kind of hurts, but you can trade for years on that, and that gives you an actual real chance at like finding success and everything, right? And you can just like buy the account so that you can, or fund the account so that you can get the data, pay the $50 a month or whatever it is that it ends up being for your data, and trade sim too would be another way of going about it. For the 50K combine, it's a 2K loss limit and a 3K target. Well, this is different between different funding firms, but yes. So my simulation suggests that ratio between the trailing drawdown and the target is what really determines the probability of you passing the combine. So why would prop firms have ratios there that are less favorable? Like that they change between the combines. You could buy the more expensive combine and the ratio isn't as good. Shouldn't the ratio be like better because you're paying more per combine and all of that sort of stuff? Like, it doesn't really make sense, does it? But I'm telling you, the reason is because less people stop out on the daily loss limit, so they have to make up for it on having a more strict target drawdown ratio. And on top of that, people that really want to leverage up, they just decide to buy multiple combines and end up spending even more money on it, right? All right, well, whatever. So in this thread, people are explaining what's going on, but I do not see an explanation of where it came from. I will leave. Who are these guys? Oh, that one's actually slightly larger than me. Not people that I've never heard of before. Hustle with Jesse. I'm already triggered. Apex is changing. Wow, his whole thing is basically about prop firms. Is actually not. His videos aren't doing as well for what I would expect based on the subject. That's kind of weird. Okay, whatever. Sometimes the algorithm just doesn't give it to you, I guess. Okay, so maybe we need to search for it on Twitter then. Yeah. What I find interesting is how they advertise a 50K account but only let you take 5 minis, especially the same purchasing power as a 2 to 3K account. Yes, you know why that is. Because they tell everybody, okay, you need to size your trades based on how many losers you can take. So people will say never lose more than 1% of your account in a trade, for instance, right? Well, that's not exactly. Let me back up. I'm trying to say things in a way that like I can cut for video later sometimes. Not that I'm going to cut this for video, but I'm trying to practice, okay? And I feel like that was a bad lead-in, okay? Why do they say that it's a 50K account when you can only take 5 contracts? It's not the same purchasing power as a 50K account. Well, the reason that they say it's a 50K account is that people are told that you should only lose like 1% or 2% of your portfolio on an individual trade. And so if you go in and you kind of do all of the numbers on that and everything, if it's a 50K account, then that would be $500 a day. And that kind of matches up with the numbers that they want you to trade and the size that they want you to trade and everything. But the problem with that is like, where did that number kind of come from? Well, the reason you want it to be like 1% is because you want to be able to lose 50 times in a row and still keep trading. Like that way, no matter any kind of a random distribution that you're going to run into, where you start trading and it's just not your market, it's not your fault, but the strategy just doesn't work, the strategy should be able to handle a drawdown of 50 trades in a row and still survive. And that's kind of like the level that you need to be at to handle the worst case scenario, right? So if you go back to the actual real driver behind the rule, I need to make 50 losses in a row, right? So if we're talking about $500, right? If my average loser is 500 times 50, right? That means that you would need $25,000 drawdown, right? And that would be like a 25,000 plus whatever I would need to hold the contracts, right? So like if I'm only going to do one contract, then I need $500. So then it would be 25,000 plus the 500. But you get what I mean? So that's like the real level that it would be. So what does the combine allow you to do? The combine is you have a $2,000 loss divided by 500. You can basically lose like 4 times in a row before the combine is dead. Right? If it was a $500 loss. Okay, so then if my drawdown is really 2,000 divided by 50 times in a row, that means that your average winner or loser should be $40. That means that like all of the trades that you're just taking like 1 point on the S&P 500. Right? But then the issue that you're going to find when you're doing that is to get to the target, to the 3,000, with that small of a size, it's going to take you forever. It's going to take you forever. So they kind of they tell you that it's a certain size account when it really has nothing to do with like any of the numbers that they give you. Right? Yes. It's so ridiculous. Like so again, if I was going to take an average $500 loss, you know, then I would want my drawdown to be 25,000. Was what we just showed right there, right? The drawdown would be 25,000, right? So then what's the target that they're going to give you? 30,000? 40,000, something like that? And then yes, the targets that they set are really ridiculous. Is that they're basically saying you're going to have like a certain drawdown and then your target's going to be like 1.5 times that. Is absolutely crazy. But like again, this is kind of the point that I'm getting at, is that the properties of the combine basically work against you. So some people might say, well, I think that the combines are kind of a scam. They might not pay out, yada, yada, yada. I have the money myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and fund my own account, but I'm going to hold myself to the same rules and goals and stuff that the combine has. So I want to make $3,000 on my own within a month or 2 months, and that's my goal, right? You are shooting yourself in the foot by doing that, because the properties of the combine are chosen exactly because they lead to failure. To have like long-term success, you're probably going to need to be able to handle drawdowns larger than the combines suggest. You're probably going to have to be able to handle a daily loss larger than the combines suggest. And it's exactly by having that ability to take on the more risk is where your profits can kind of end up coming from. You want to have more edge than just that, but that's kind of like the booster that kind of like makes it like even as a viable living, right? Yeah, everybody go watch Seth's newest video in half speed so that the algorithm marks the video as doubled watch time so that it pushes through the algo. Or just watch it twice. Or just watch it like normal, but, you know, there are a couple of spots where you might want to rewind and watch that order flow there in that spot, because there's some pretty key tells in those clips that I got on there. Or just watch the video normal and leave a comment, because leaving a comment makes such a big difference. Leaves such a big difference. It's okay. The next video we're going to make is going to be about combines, and you guys always have lots of comments about those, right? So I'm going to be nice in this one either, because it kind of pisses me off that we have all of these influencers on YouTube now that are running around trying to expose everybody. You know, every little guru, we're going to prove that they're lying and that they're not real and everything. Which, okay, that's all fine and dandy. But then you're still taking affiliate links and enabling the largest abusers in the industry, which are the prop firms. And I'm not going to mention anybody by name or anything like that. But this video is kind of intended to express my frustration at these people and take them down a notch. And express my frustration at the combines in general, that like so much of the content and the focus from the retail traders comes from the combines, and I'm just telling you, like, those goals are ridiculous. So like, how do I trade it? I'm trading like $1,000 account. I'm making or losing $10 a day, maybe sometimes 50 to 100. Okay. If I catch a really big winner, it could be 50 to 100, right? And, you know, I can take a drawdown that's more than that. Like, I can take a pretty steep drawdown. I can essentially lose like 90% of my account and keep trading, right? As opposed to this thing where that's just like, if you have a $50,000 account, but you can only lose 2,000. So that's really actually like 4% of the 4% loss. And then you're supposed to be doubling that on the other side. This just doesn't make any sense. And then what do I make? I can go in there, and if I make like $100 over the whole year, that's actually like amazing performance. That's actually amazing, but that's like 10%. That's great. Right? Over the whole year. Right? Now you actually stand a chance. Okay. The combines, the combine rules are causing you to fail. They're designed to cause you to fail. I saw a dude on Instagram selling a $700 crypto trading course that couldn't explain what supply and demand was, and that because the market is where it's at, it has to crash and we're all going to die and experience 2008 2.0. Well, I really don't think that what retail traders talk about as supply and demand is really very effective. But anyways. Yeah, exactly. So like what has happened is retail traders will take terms from economics and misappropriate them for their trading. So whether it's supply and demand, or they call it support and resistance, but they're trying to piggyback off of the terminology from economics that says like, here's supply and demand curves and all of that sort of stuff. When really they're trying to talk about an area where it seems like price will stay in here, right? Well, there is a propensity for markets to be mean reverting, and they can get stuck in places. But when you start trading this and you say, oh, it's stuck in here, it's done it 3 times, so now I'm gonna buy it here, and that's like exactly when it fails, right? It just the probabilities just don't work out on an intraday basis. They just don't. I would love to see somebody try to make an objective way of defining supply and demand algorithmically, or sorry, support and resistance algorithmically, and then show a back test where it actually works over a 5-year time period. I don't think you'd be able to do it. Firm journal. Wow. Okay, but where's the leaks? Fast Track Trading employees and Scott had plans to make a new company before the rug pull with few employees added to the private chat. They had plans to make a company with nothing to do with Fast Track Trader. Okay. Well, I'm gonna click this guy and maybe he has more. Are you able to drop that research article of microstructure modes by Jean-Philippe that I talk about in the video? It's on archive. All of his research gets released on archive first. So just search for Jean-Philippe Bouchot on archive.org. arxiv.org. I want to see, like, they're saying that there's leaks and stuff. Does somebody have like the whole chat log archived or something so we can dig through it? Wow, there sure is a lot of people on Twitter talking about it, though. This is just going back to Friday, the 7th. That was Friday, right? Oh, Thursday. Going back to Thursday. Prop firm payout processor rises shutting down temporarily in many U.S. states. Oh boy. I have a theory that it's due to the FTT situation. Oh. I guess I'm just gonna have to watch the YouTube videos, huh? Here's another video. Wow, these guys say that they have everything, so maybe there's just information that people are selectively putting out. Wow. Well, as things were falling apart, they gave themselves 10K and 37K. That's actually not as much as I thought it would be. Like they're trying to pull it. They're pulling an outright scam. That's they only got 40K out of it. Okay. It must have been much more earlier though, because it's like millions of dollars that they've made. Where are people getting this from? See, here's logs. He doesn't say where it came from. Raise your hand if you are timed out on Discord today for looking at the leaked fast track trading documents. Where do you get them from? Well, maybe you guys can help me look. Maybe you'll find it. So you find it, like the data itself, like the original data, the leaks. I would love to take a look at it. Oh, there is an FTT leaks server. Here it is. There's a Discord. Invite invalid. They should send to CoffeeZilla. That's what they should do. So maybe if I come in here and I search FTTT leaks Discord. Okay, here's an X account. Everyone who is in the server now has their Discord accounts reinstated and can send messages again. Regarding the rest of the leaks, I will be talking about that more soon. Why would you choose Discord to leak it? Why don't you just post this stuff on Twitter? What just happened, Bonds? I don't know. It was a little bit of a move up, wasn't it? I don't know. I didn't hear any news or anything. No prints on the bids. Well, again, I don't really see anything coming through on the wires or anything. It's just decided to spike a little bit for no apparent reason. What playlist is that? I'm just using Stream Beats by Harris Heller. The 100 Thieves Hype Tracks playlist. There's gotta be new stuff. New leaks. Okay, so let's come back up here. Latest. Nope, that's not working either. Let's try doing it this way. See some people on Twitter trying to take advantage of this situation and getting getting people to sign on to a news service. So like, that's crazy. Wonder if there's anything about Ion Futures that I or whatever they call that website now. It's almost time for me to get going. These days seem to go through so quickly now. Well, they do have a threat. Well, I'm not finding a lot of it. It seems to me that it's like there's a Discord and the stuff is on the Discord and that is kind of in flux right now. So I'm just maybe need to wait a day or two. Nope. That didn't work either. I don't know. I'm gonna be stuck on this all day, like trying to find something, but we'll see. I guess I just need to like keep a column open on here. Search, fast track trading, the latest. Check it periodically. All right, guys. Well, I think maybe we could pull something out of this stream, but I don't know. I kind of feel empty. Like you know, I spent a lot of time searching for that and wasn't really able to find anything all that great. So whatever. Hey, Paul, good game. Yeah, thanks. I don't know. So remember, there's some good economic data coming this week. So, you know, tomorrow might be a little bit slow, but there is something going on out there. So stay excellent.